Do you like beer?
Do you like podcasts?
Do you like beer podcasts?
Then check out Crackin' One Open, a podcast about brews, news, and pop culture reviews.
Every week, we crack open a new craft beer from breweries around the country.
And sometimes the world.
We'll talk about how it was made, what's in it, the history of the brew, and the brewery.
Then we'll give our tasting notes, and while we're finishing up, we'll talk about some of the latest goings-on in the world of pop culture.
So check out Crackin' One Open with Mike and Elise, part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Hello there. I'm Colleen.
I'm Anders.
And I'm Daniel.
We're three nerds who met through our love of science fiction and fantasy storytelling. Of course, one of our favorites is George Lucas's signature achievement, Star Wars.
And if there's one thing the internet definitely doesn't have enough of, it's nerds talking about Star Wars. So here we are with yet another Star Wars podcast, where every week we journey to a galaxy far, far away to discuss one of the films in the current Star Wars canon.
We'll talk about how our relationship with the film has changed over time, how the film builds on what came before it, and forms our understanding of the Force. Finally, we'll provide you with some recommendations for other material you may enjoy if you love these movies. And this week, we're joined by another special guest star. Boop, boop, boop. From Bohemian Geek Studies, we have the princess of prequels herself, Flo Siegel.
Honestly, this is such an honor for me. And also, if you hadn't invited me on for this one, I probably would have screamed.
Yeah, when we were talking about this podcast, what it was going to be, who we were going to have on, Colleen and I looked at each other and said, if we don't have Flo on for Attack of the Clones, she'll kill us.
Yep.
I mean, our friendship would be over.
You guys talked about Attack of the Clones without me.
I mean, it doesn't count if I'm not here, so.
That's very true.
Exactly.
I agree.
So this week we are heading straight for the gladiatorial arena to discuss episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So guys, are you ready to take delivery of this clone army?
Well, they have been waiting for us Jedi to show up.
Hey, as long as there's no sand, I'm in.
I've never been more ready for aggressive negotiations.
We know.
I mean, I am who I am.
All right, so let's dive right into it. So, Attack of the Clones was globally released on May 16th, 2002. Just like Phantom Menace, it was written and directed by George Lucas. On a budget of $115 million, it grossed $310,676,640 in North America and $388,721,588 overseas for a total box office haul of $649,398,328. Now, that is nothing to sneeze at. Let's be absolutely clear. That's a pretty solid haul, but it was not as much as The Phantom Menace made a few years earlier. Mm-hmm. And it was also the first Star Wars movie to not be #1 movie of the year. In the US, it fell behind the first Spider-Man and Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And globally, it was behind Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Adjusted for inflation, this is the lowest performing live action Star Wars movie at the box office.
I mean, the movies that beat it, I all would watch before this movie.
I mean, that is a stacked year. that is a stacked freaking year.
I would probably sacrifice that first Spider-Man movie. I was not a fan of that trilogy at all. And I don't know why people like Spider-Man 2 so much.
I love Spider-Man
Imagine
2.
being 9 years old during this year, though, and getting all of these movies at once.
Yeah,
it was a time to be a 9-year-old. It was amazing.
What a time. I was not 9.
Uh-huh.
I was not. So I was like 14. So
I was 12. So it was a great year.
I think I was 20.
All right.
I don't know about you guys, but like for me, this is one of the first movies that I actually remember the theater experience of really going in and being in there. I saw this movie 3 times in theaters in 24 hours. I went Friday night with one of my friends, and then randomly, like my brother took me along with one of his friends to like a Saturday matinee. And then I went with like my larger group of friends who couldn't go Friday. We all went Saturday night. So I absolutely was obsessed with this movie for that first weekend.
You contributed to that box office. That's good.
I did, absolutely. And I just remember that moment where Yoda pulls out the lightsaber. I mean, first him walking in, like I remember everybody kind of being like a few people giggling almost. The meme for the several weeks afterwards was that he would walk in and everyone would go, "Kermit the Frog here." But then he pulls out that lightsaber, and it's the first time I remember a theater full of people collectively losing their minds. Everyone was absolutely into it. And overall, this movie is still fun to watch, but man, guys, this rewatch was tough for me. I hadn't seen it in a while, and I am generally a defender of this movie. Like, this was definitely my number one of the prequels. I think it has now slipped to number 2 just because this might be 19 years of internet meme indoctrination, but Anakin is just rough on this rewatch. Just does not age well. I mean, we'll get into some specifics around this later. I could see Flo just ready to chime in.
Flo's ready. Flo's ready to go.
But there is still a lot I like about this movie. But in terms of my personal rankings, it has now fallen behind Phantom Menace for me.
That's fair. I would say that's where it is for me too. I enjoy some of this movie. The parts that are good are really freaking good. The Camino scenes with Obi-Wan and Jango are excellent. The actors play really well off of each other. But seriously, there's more sexual tension in that scene between them than between all of Batman and Anakin's film stuff. I think they have really good chemistry in Clone Wars, but for the films, like, oh my God, what is happening? But let's be fair, like, Tamora Morrison shows up, I'm going to be happy. He looks so good in this movie. Oh, he
Very
looks so
much
amazing.
so.
And then Christopher Lee just commands the scene when he comes out. He slays as Count Dooku. I do wish he had more to do besides be snarky to Obi-Wan and Yoda, but he's still such a presence that it doesn't matter quite as much. And then you get him in Clone Wars, so you get a lot more of him. I really noticed the side characters this time, you guys, after all that Clone Wars binging. It's like, not only is Kit Fisto like grinning his ass off through the entire battle of Geonosis, but we have really sassy Joe Castanew chastising Obi-Wan as though he's a freaking idiot. When he's like, what if it's not in the archive? She's like, excuse me, bitch.
I thought she was gonna like hit him outside the head.
Yes.
Like,
oh yeah,
how
and Joe
dare you?
Castanew totally would do that. But I think there was like a Padawan in the background, so she's like, I can't hit Obi-Wan right now. I have a job to do. And then Barriss freaking Offie is in an opening scene with her master Luminara. I was like, excuse me? What the heck is Barriss doing here?
Well, she
I love those
hasn't she
parts.
hasn't exactly become disillusioned yet, you know?
That's true. Yeah. This is her at her like innocent point. And then the council fucks it up, but we'll talk about that at some point later. And then I also noticed, because I was wondering in my research after watching, it's like, how many Jedi died at the Battle of Geonosis? Because I was like, oh, it can't be that many. No, freaking 170 out of 200 Jedi who were there were killed.
Yeah.
Which is like, you losing people in a conflict like this when you only have 10,000 of you seems like not a great allocation of resources. But like they said, they're not soldiers. They don't really know how to wage war.
Clearly.
Not good. Like Mace walks in thinking he's hot shit, and then he loses most of his people. How the hell did this guy become a general?
Shout out to Adi Gallia, who led the Space Forces, and they had almost no casualties. But then Mace Windu leading the ground, and love it, Mace. Good job. Great job.
What do you think, Daniel?
So I conditionally love this movie. I really love all things to do with ships. So the Coruscant chase and the space duel that Obi-Wan and Jango have is exhilarating. I really like the concept and like ideas of the movie, but the execution is just a little lacking for me. It's the first one I saw in theaters. It came out right around my birthday, so I was so hyped to go see it. And then I remember even as a kid, I was just not into the Anakin storyline. And I was like, oh no, this is kind of weird. But all the action, I was like, heck yeah, this is amazing. This is definitely the one that I've rewatched the least, though I have come across a fan edited copy, which kind of, edits out some of the more extraneous
Isn't it like
things.
25 minutes?
No, it's like an hour and a half, I think. It's a
Grace
solid.
one?
It's not the Topher Grace one.
Okay.
I wish I could find that one, but it's actually a lot more enjoyable in my mind that way. So if I watch it again, I'm probably going to do it that way. Sorry, Disney Plus version.
Oh man, I've got so much to say right now.
Just go, Flo. Let it out.
Let it out, Flo.
Let it out.
All right.
Let it flow.
So in May 2002, I was 11 and I went to the movies and I saw this masterpiece with my dad and my best friend who are both Star Wars fans. And I just remember I had seen Phantom Menace in theaters at age 9 and it was great. It was my first real intro into Star Wars. I had refused to watch the original trilogy before that because I was 9 and anything that my dad liked, I didn't want to do. So I was really excited about Phantom Menace and I was super excited about this one. I didn't really know what to expect. And I just remember looking over at my dad in the theater when Yoda came out with a lightsaber and he had tears in his eyes and it was huge. Like, it was just like, wow,
Aww.
this is a thing. So that was great. And then, I mean, Hayden Christensen is really good to look at, people. So yeah, I was obsessed with this movie. I'm still obsessed with this movie. In my power rankings, this is number 1 of all the Star Wars movies. So this is the one I have definitely rewatched the most. I rewatched it this week in preparation for this pod, and I think my husband was quite impressed that I can quote the entire movie. Like, I don't even need to watch it because I just know every single line and what's going to happen next. So it's my favorite. I'm obsessed with it. I just remember the weekend after seeing this movie in theaters, I went to Target and I bought the soundtrack, the score, and I like listened to it all the time while doing homework. It was just my favorite thing ever. And if my friends ever wanted to like get me to react to something, they would play Across the Stars and I would squeal like a crazy person because it was just so romantic.
The score is insanely good. Like,
Oh my
Yes.
God. I mean, it's John Williams just went all out on this one. So yeah, I love this one. I love all the cringy bits and it actually rewatches really, really well for me. So you guys can all make fun of me. It's fine, but
Well,
we're going to be talking a lot about it.
I'm glad you
The
find
perfect
enjoyment.
age. You were at the perfect age for Hayden Christensen to hit. Like, oh, hello. That's like me and Han Solo. I was younger when I watched the original trilogy, so those scenes have more nostalgia for me and are going to hit harder. So it makes sense.
This was just like my sexual awakening movie, so like I'm deeply attached to it. Like when they're in that weird little carriage thing about to like go to their deaths and they're proclaiming their love to each other, I'm like, this is it. If my relationship's not like this, I don't want it.
That's fantastic. You know what? I'm just happy that you get all this enjoyment out of it. Like, I'm happy for you.
Thank
like,
you.
I love that.
Right?
I
Just
am
like
very
let
happy.
people love things.
Yes,
Exactly.
We will tease you, of course.
Oh, of course.
But we know that you love it. Like, of course you love it.
I do love it. And I
Hayden
can't wait to
is
tell you about
attractive.
everything I love about this movie.
So speaking of stuff that we love, there are some special things that we do want to give some shout outs to, starting with our favorite ships. And I want to start with the opening here, that Padme's H-type Nubian yacht that comes in at the beginning of the movie. I love the look of all of the Nubian starships. We had the one in Phantom Menace, now we've got this one. It actually has like the wider wings. It reminds me kind of actually of a B-2 stealth bomber, but not quite. And I just think it looks sick. And the sound effect as it's flying in was really, really cool.
Yeah, that's a fantastic one. I really enjoy the yellow. It's the XJ6 speeder. That's what Anakin and Obi-Wan are in when they're chasing down the bounty hunter. I love it. It's such a fun Corvette muscle car look, which is a good throwback for George Lucas. So yeah, I really enjoy that.
I like that one too. It reminds me, I used to read a lot of the Animorphs books, and there was one that was called the Andalite Chronicles that involved a kind of centaur-like alien on a random alien planet, but he finds a yellow Mustang with the top down and starts like speeding across the desert planet in it.
I mean,
you just made me so happy to reference that. I love Animorphs.
Obviously, this is one of my favorite ships too, because I would do horrible things to Anakin in that speeder.
He would like it. He's a little bit of a masochist.
Colleen, he would love it.
Getting freaky in the speeder. That's what that kind of car is for, right?
I mean, yes. And like just the sass that he exudes in that speeder, like he's feeling himself. He's like, yeah, I couldn't find one I liked. So yeah, I'm all about it.
I do like Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship in this movie. That part is really cute, and their banter is really fun, especially with the speeder thing. Poor Obi-Wan.
So
The
good.
entire movie is just face palming. I like this one too. The clone gunships, which are called low altitude assault transports, really cool. Like a freaking Black Hawk helicopter kind of thing.
So cool. I had a Lego set of those as well. I loved these. They were so cool.
Definitely. And some of them drop off the clone walkers, which these tanks, these all-terrain tactical enforcer tanks, which have, I think they have 6 legs, don't they? As they walk, and they are lower to the ground, making them, in my opinion, a lot more practical than the AT-ATs. But
Yes. How are you
less
gonna go
likely to
big?
topple. I mean, you know, maybe having wheels generally would have been more useful, but if you're gonna have legs, 6 of them low to the ground is a little bit better.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I don't know why they keep using the AT-ATs. Honestly, like they've never worked.
They look badass. That's the only reason.
They
Palpatine's
do,
like,
they
these
do.
look crazy cool. We're gonna use them.
It's about the vibes.
Well, you know what else is all about the vibes? Dooku's solar sailor ship in this for sure.
Yes.
Honestly, like it's just visually stunning. Like it's amazing. And like Dooku is such a rich guy. And it's like he's just over here being super sleek, super elegant. It's not like the best ship for what he's doing, which is basically just like running away all the time. Like, man, I hate Dooku so much. I can't even tell you. But I mean, he does look great while he's fleeing from literally everything.
He does, but I think it actually, I think it does help with his fleeing lifestyle, because the fact that it uses the sail actually means that it doesn't leave like a hyperdrive signature, so it's harder to track.
Okay, but also
which is also
like,
how he's able to get in and out of Coruscant with like no one noticing that the leader of the opposition is just landing in the middle of the capital.
nobody ever
wondered
sees
about that.
anything. So, but I mean,
That's
okay,
fair.
if you saw that ship though, like while you were just in space, you wouldn't be like, oh, okay, whatever. You'd be like, this is.
Well, I think you underestimate how
sick-ass
much you can
ship.
actually see in space.
That's true. That's fair.
I mean, people who do see it though are just like, oh, that guy's filthy rich. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
pirates are like, Hondo would be like, oh, I'm getting that ship,
For real, right?
Mhm.
which would be a mistake because
I just
Dooku
don't think
will
it's
kill
like-
you.
I don't think it's very subtle, and I think like maybe he should be a little bit more subtle if you're going to be such a d-bag.
Fair.
He's definitely not subtle at all. You are right to hate him though, Flo. I mean, I think it's in the novelization where they say that he's the one who orchestrated Anakin's mom's kidnapping and subsequent death
Yeah.
I mean,
to
he's
help
the worst.
push
Oh, yeah.
Anakin over the edge.
He's
towards
the
dark
worst.
side. Like,
I'm just saying, I could push Anakin over the edge.
yeah, you could.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay, next we have the last ship we're looking at is the Acclamator. This ship comes right before the Venator class from the Clone Wars. They're kind of proto Star Destroyers, and basically anytime you see these kind of triangular looking ships, you can't help but remember that the Empire is coming. Like these kind of are like, yay, it's the Republic and the Jedi are using them. This is a good ship. And then you're like, wait a minute. This is not going to be good for the galaxy in a couple of years. Just not.
Nope. All right, Flo, how about some aliens? Favorite aliens, favorite droids?
Okay, so I have an obsession with the entirety of the planet of Camino and the Caminoans. They just look amazing. I'm like obsessed with their fit. They're just like always looking amazing. Great,
Mhm.
great look for them. Also, amazing furniture. You have heard this on BTS many times, but I stand for the ladle spoon chairs.
The Apple
All the
Store of
time.
chairs.
Yes, they're so sleek. I'm just obsessed with them. Also, honestly, like Django's pad is pretty sweet. Like, he's got a sweet apartment. So the Caminoans know how to live. A little bit rainy, but you know they make it work. It's fine. Their skin is like pretty waterproof, probably. So they're cool. Love
They're
them.
used
Love
to
them.
it. They're used to it, those
Yeah.
cloners.
Exactly. Also, they talk great, right? Like,
Very soothing.
welcome to Camino. Like, it's just
So
like a big
soothing.
spa. Yes. They're just like the waterfall of aliens. They're just great.
And of course, in this movie, you don't really get their kind of sinister undertones as much as you do in the Clone Wars. So here you can watch them and be like, oh, these people are really cool and fun. And they just hang out outside the Outer Rim. Nobody bugs them unless they have a lot of money and need some clones.
Well, how could they be bugged? They've been erased from the archives, Colleen.
Ooh.
Incredible the mind of a young one is, for sure.
Definitely true. Schooling. Next, we have the assassin droid. I love any sort of assassin droid, let's be fair. They're all going to be really cool. They're always super useful, and I love this scene, too, where Obi-Wan just freaking dives through the window. Like, what are you doing?
He's trying to keep
Anakin
up. You know what?
Not to take chances.
He did what he had to do.
Just full flow, flinging himself out the window. Also, isn't that supposed to be like transparent steel and that's supposed to be really strong? I'm not sure how he got through the window unless he broke it with the Force somehow, but that's fine.
Plus the hole that the droid had already carved in it.
Yeah, so he
That's
could have
true.
used that as a cracking point to get through.
So I will say, like, I was watching this with my husband, and he made the great point of like, why wouldn't they just get an assassin droid that could just shoot Padme in her sleep instead of depositing centipedes? Like,
I guess
know.
they were trying to be more covert, but yeah, for real, like just
Like,
shoot her or something. Like,
Yeah,
for real.
does not seem effective at all. But whatever. I mean, it gave us Anakin jumping on a bed and like straddling Padme.
This is not the movie of great plans. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
No, just not.
It's not. You're right.
So I want to call out our guy Dex, Obi-Wan's bestless buddy who runs the diner, but is also very suspiciously knowledgeable about the underworld. He's got just like a whole cool vibe about him. And obviously without him, we will not get the impeccable Clone Wars Jedi Master Pong Krell.
Shouts to our friend Joe Warner.
Jedi Order.
Yes, the best of the Jedi Order.
Oh, man.
Who absolutely values the lives of his clones.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. The most loving
Flo
general
needs
you'll
to
ever
see.
find.
Well, if anything, you do need to watch those episodes because Pong Krell is a whole mood.
Yeah, write those down for me for sure. The only thing I'll say about Dex, I also love Dex, but like the man needs pants that fit or a belt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
No.
hope he is washing his hands.
Yes, thank you. Right, this like food safety is tops.
Though if Disney Plus wants to give us a whole show about Dex's Diner, I would watch it religiously, like every week.
Oh,
I'm there.
100%.
You know what? Now that you just said that, like I just realized that Dex kind of is like the space Guy Fieri.
Mhm.
Oh
For real.
my goodness.
For real.
Right? Dex is
Now we
He
Diner
needs to
time
go
is the
around
time.
Coruscant in a red speeder, just going into other diners. Please give us this show.
I need it immediately.
Oh man. Well, speaking of speeders, I've gotta say our speeder driving amazing badass assassin Zam Wessel. She's a Claudite, so she can assume any humanoid form because she's a shapeshifter. Which I was like, that's amazing. We've not seen stuff like that in Star Wars before, so that was a cool revelation. And her final words, I just finally found out on this run through. She says "bounty hunter slime ball" because she immediately knows. She's like, "Ah, damn it, Django, you had to go and shoot me."
Right.
Sam was
Like,
great.
You can tell she was like, she's a good bounty hunter, but she's not like a true hardliner. She's not there
Mhm.
to hide secrets. She doesn't care. She's like, no, just please let me go. Like, of
You already
course
cut off
Django
my
was there.
arm. Like, come on.
Yeah, she did spill the secrets like pretty fast. She was just like, no, we're fine. Just-
Yeah, I don't care.
Was that Anakin probing her with the Force a little bit? Like when he
What?
leaned in? Was he probing her with the Force a little bit when he leads in? He's like, tell us now.
Probably a little bit. And she's already weak from her wound, so it probably worked better too. Everyone who cannot see us, Flo, is having a moment.
I think I'm having a little bit of an aneurysm right now as Andrew says that Anakin probed her with the Force.
I mean, he is attractive. Those freaking girls in the club were like, hello.
Dude, I noticed that on this rewatch. They all turned. They were like, damn, who's this
Okay, but the
Jedi?
one thing that we need to address is that, okay, obviously the Padawan braid, not good, but
Not
that
good.
little rat tail thing that they have to do in the
Ponytail,
back
yeah.
as well, get it out of here.
Yeah, I agree.
My
I mean,
word.
I will agree fully with that take. While we're here in this like weird cantina thing, can we just talk about the amazingness of those big screen TVs showing different alien sports? I'm obsessed with that. Like, I am just here to go clubbing in Coruscant with Anakin. That's the
Robot
dream.
football.
Yes,
Sounds so fun.
so good.
Oh my god, I hope they're being paid well, which we know they definitely are not.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
definitely not.
One last one, honorable mention. They're not really aliens per se. They definitely aren't droids. They're not droids. Shout out to the clones.
Yeah.
We don't get much personality yet out of them, besides knowing that they're basically like Django, but not quite as independent. At least
Right.
that's what
Mhm.
the Kaminoans say. But they saved the day here, you guys.
I was always
And we love them because they're all unique and special in their own
I
way. We
was-
love these clones.
I was always a little disappointed that they have that one when they're all in like the cafeteria and they have the one who looks like so dissatisfied and looking up.
Yeah.
And that moment never pays off. They
Yeah.
never go back to that. I was like, you were totally planting the seed for like clone rebellion or something.
Who do
And
we think that is? Is that Rex before he dyes his hair? Maybe.
Maybe
Hmm?
Maybe it's Fives.
It could be Fives, although I don't know how old Fives is as opposed to Rex. but-
No, actually no, because I think Rex and Fives were all part of the batch that were created after they ran out of material from Django, I think.
I would have to look back. I know Rex and Cody are older because they went through the officers tract before some of the other ones, but I would have to look. They're all around the same age because
They are.
made
Ultimately,
at
they're
the
all
same
around
time.
the same age.
But
Yes.
it would be super interesting to, because that clone obviously is like, what the frick am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like, we all look the same. What is happening?
I do feel like this movie needed to give people who like weren't totally like into Star Wars yet more of an understanding of these clones, because I remember like knowing that stormtroopers were like the bad guys, and then all of a sudden like them not being that, like it was really confusing to me. So I was just like,
Yes.
wait, what's happening and why are they in a ship with Yoda and I don't know what's happening. So that was like the only real confusion when I was 11.
Yeah.
Just another precursor to the Empire showing up.
Yes, exactly. I
Mhm.
mean, now I get it, obviously, but I want to be clear. I'm not confused now.
When you're younger, yeah, you're kind of like, what?
Yeah.
All right. So now time for the part of the show where we talk about our untouchables and unbearables. What is perfect about this movie and what doesn't quite work. So I want to start off with an untouchable that is actually a small moment in the movie, but on this rewatch, it hit me just a little bit different because I was able to relate to it a little bit more. And that's the moment where Obi-Wan goes in and he asks Yoda and ultimately the class of younglings for help, trying to get the answer to what's going on with Kamino, why isn't it in the archives? And within, 10 seconds, the kid is just like, someone erased it. That's obviously the thing. So number one, this time it hit me a little different because now I actually started thinking about the fate of every youngling in that room.
Yeah.
I thought about
sad.
that too on this rewatch, and it was really sad.
But also just
Yeah.
in my professional life, I have had that moment where you or someone you know is working on a problem and especially with computer code. I had a friend once who was trying to get something to work. He had been looking at it and tweaking it for like 3 hours and it wasn't compiling and running properly. And finally he called me over. He's like, look at this. Tell me like I'm not crazy or whatever. I took a look at it and within 5 seconds, I was just like, you're missing a semicolon right here. He put in that one little semicolon and the whole thing just ran fine. And having just, number one, being willing to ask for help and having someone like point out the obvious was just a really nice little moment. And then the main one for me, this movie for Untouchables, is pretty much from the end of Anakin and Padme's kiss in that chariot thing, from the end of the kiss through like the end of the movie, the whole ending thing, the gladiatorial battle, the arena, everything about that. Padme just being a boss, like getting herself out of the chains, and then when she gets the blaster, she's just so precise in her aim, she never misses. Again, George Lucas kind of felt bad that she never gets to pick up a lightsaber, so he gave her like perfect aim, just like Carrie Fisher as Leia. And then we move to the duel in the end, seeing Anakin dual wield those lightsabers, seeing Yoda pull out his lightsaber and fight for the first time was just like the coolest thing I had ever seen. Yeah. And they do it very well in this movie where they don't overuse that. He has that like kind of jumping, flipping style, but it doesn't last for too long.
And I do like how Dooku is trying to manipulate relationships. Like he knows that, of course, you're not supposed to have connections, but he keeps bringing up Qui-Gon, and it's very obvious why he's doing
Dooku's
that.
lightsaber too, the curved fencing blades that he has, so cool. Baby.
It's my favorite lightsaber design for a reason. It's so cool. His style, how he duels, love it.
Other than that, my untouchables for this one, I'm going to give a shout out to our guy Jimmy Smits for being in this movie. The only human being who has the potential to even come close to being as effortlessly cool as Harrison Ford. So shout out to all the West Wing Hive out there.
He looks really good in that bulky knit too.
I just remember seeing,
nobody can wear a bulky knit.
I just remember seeing him, and me and my friends were all like, dude, it's Jimmy Smits, holy crap. Just love seeing him in whatever he's in. And my last one, I want to give a shout out to George Lucas for whether this was a direct response to internet trolls or because you thought that this is going to be the thing from the beginning. Having Jar Jar Binks be the guy who puts in the emergency powers resolution that effectively lays the groundwork for the Clone Wars and paves the way for the Empire is just one of the most chef's kiss perfect moments, middle finger to internet trolls ever.
I think this is the craziest take I've ever heard from you, honestly. And I have heard a lot of crazy takes from you, but I am a Jar Jar apologist from Phantom Menace. Like, I actually really like Jar Jar. I thought he was funny as a 9-year-old, but Jar Jar as a senator is ridiculous. Like, the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And Padme just like bestows this on him, like right before like she leaves. She's packing her suitcase. She's like, by the way, you're the senator. Like, what? Just
like,
crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Madam Senator, let's sit down. Let's talk. Why are we going to put Jar Jar there? Can you run me through what's his resume? Why are we thinking this? Does he have job history? I mean, that's part of the resume. But I just really need to stress that Jar Jar does not have the ability here. What are we doing?
I mean, thank you, right? Like, was there an interview process for this? Like, no, this is horrible. Are there only 2 people on Naboo? Like, I don't understand. Like, pick anybody else.
Right? Like, leave him on Naboo. He may cause damage there, but not as much damage as this.
I mean, they let 14-year-olds be the queen. Honestly, Naboo has a problem. Like, I am the ambassador from Naboo, but like, I'm having a problem with my home planet right now.
I forget if Padme herself appointed him or if actually the Gungans chose him, because it was a thing to make sure a Gungan was in the delegation, like after the events of Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
You have your senator and then their close people and then the Gungans. And I forget if it was Padme that picked him or if it was the Gungans who were like, you like the Naboo people already?
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Yeah, it's an established relationship. So in that way, it makes sense. But he is not.
I mean, if that is from the Gungans, like, freaking tough look for the Gungans for picking like their absolute most doofus Gungan to be their like representative. That's crazy. No. Yeah, this was the craziest take.
Yeah. No.
No.
I do like that he is the one that starts it.
Exactly. I'm not defending
the
the choice to make him a senator. I'm just defending the absolute like perfect
gall.
Irony of everything, the gall of George Lucas of having him introduce that resolution.
Like, oh, y'all hate Jar Jar? He gonna start the Clone Wars, bitches.
And without that moment, we would not have the Darth Jar Jar theory.
I was about to say that. Yeah. Right.
And then my main unbearable from this movie, I mean, I'm sure I'll chime in on some of your guys's, but so in Phantom Menace, they stopped building all the sets at like head height and filled everything above that digitally. For this one, I'm pretty sure unless someone had to physically touch it, and even then, not every time, they just didn't build sets, and it shows. The wide shots in this movie, for the most part, just don't look good. They didn't really hold up by 2003, and it just it made it harder to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with that take. Actually, even in the first like minute when that Nubian starship comes in, it was like, this doesn't look good.
Yeah,
There was just like the lighting was weird on it. Like you could just tell, like it looked more like a video game in a lot of places than a movie, and that was distracting. I feel like I obviously like ignored it in 02 because we didn't have the tech that we've got now, anyways. But like it doesn't hold up super well for sure. I feel like definitely some of like the alien CGI looks better, but certainly the wider lens shots, like you're saying, were rough. I'll give you that one. Okay, that's the only one I'm conceding to.
Well, it's so hard too because if you think Two Towers came out at the same time, and that CGI is pretty much untouchable.
Christopher Lee killing it in 2002.
Yes. He's just like, put me in all the things. I will be in all of the things. Why isn't he not in Harry Potter?
A villain? I'm there.
Somebody who's tall and can fill a space and has this voice. Like, we will take you, Christopher Lee. We love it. I'll start with my unbearable. The title. Thanks, I hate it. No. Like, who workshopped this with George? Who was there in the room when he was like, it sounds like a great idea. Attack of the Clones. Like, what?
It did sound like a great idea. Are you kidding me?
I think it still sounds like a great idea.
Oh, man.
Whether or not it was executed well is a totally different thing, but the title sounds cool.
Oh, the title's so bad, you guys. It's so bad.
I mean, if it's called Attack of the Clones, you think the clones would be attacking the Republic.
Yeah. It's just like
I don't
okay,
care for the
name. So let's hear it, Colleen. Like, what would you have called this?
I've thought about this, and like I've come up with pages of possible titles, and it's like, well, of course you want it to be the Clone Wars. Like that is kind of what people were thinking was coming, was the Clone Wars. It could have been something like Rise of the Empire, or it could have been Rise of Jar Jar Binks.
It couldn't have been Rise of the Empire. That doesn't happen until the next movie.
I know, but like something else. Like Attack of the Clones just is clunky. It doesn't really have much to do with the movie, especially when you had something so cool sounding as the Phantom Menace. Like that's
true.
Was like short and sweet, and it has the good buzzwords in it. Like Attack, they could have even done something else with Attack, but the clones are not even attacking until the last second of the movie. So it's like, I don't know what they could have chosen. I'm sure there was like a whiteboard full of titles, and then George just went up and circled Attack of the Clones and was like, that's it, guys. That's the title. And they were like, George, but that was just one of the ideas we were working around. And he's like, I love it. We're going with it.
I think I would call this movie Eating Pears by the Lake.
Oh my gosh, yes, that would have been amazing.
I mean, that's the best part. So
could have been called Jedi Hubris, for God's sake.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my gosh, and also, who in the Corellian hell thought that it was a good idea for Anakin to be Padme's protector when she leaves?
It was me.
I believe that was Yoda.
Right? It's like, I think it was kind of a test. I think they were testing him, and he failed. According to them. I mean, he failed according to what the council would have wanted him to do. But that's just cruel. That is like really cruel, because especially Obi-Wan knows that Anakin has got the feels. Obi-Wan.
I was actually wondering about this though. So Obi-Wan knows, but does that mean that the rest of them know?
I think that they know they have a connection, which is probably why, this will be easier. She'll be comfortable with him. They know each other. But Yoda, Yoda should be known if he's given off all this forced lust energy, probably.
If they can't sense this when they can see it with their
The dark side
eyeballs,
clouds everything.
You know what? This is not dark side shit right now, Anders. This is very, very, very good. Okay.
I mean, this is just being in a room and going, oh, that's a horny 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Yes. It's obvious. And like, she's hot. Like, why would you put like your youngest, hottest Jedi with the youngest, hottest senator? Like, that's just a recipe.
It was the easy choice for them at the time. It was, and if it was part of a test, that makes sense too, because the Jedi fucking love these ridiculous tests.
I mean, all I'm saying is like the Jedi Council have never been camp counselors because they would have never done this because there would have been like a lot of pregnancies.
Padme would have had a lady Jedi.
Exactly.
I mean, Barriss is there. Let Barriss go with her instead.
Yeah.
Oh, I just can't with that choice. But I mean, they had to because plot and you need them to fall in love in some way. Moving on to my untouchables. I loved Tamora Morrison as Jango Fett and all the clones. He adds this interesting presence. He was an interesting choice as like a man of color and someone from New Zealand. Like they didn't pick somebody from England or they didn't pick somebody from the United States. Like a very inspired choice when you look back on it. Like, yes. Get after Tamora Morrison for everything, you guys. I love Obi-Wan being a dare cop. Oh yeah, his voice is fantastic. I love it.
I literally think the only other thing I had seen him in was Speed 2 at this point. He plays one of the cruise directors.
Speed 2, Cruise Control. Oh, that should have been added to our recommendations for bad sequels. Oh, it's such a terrible movie. Obi-Wan being the dare cop, I'm here for. With the Death Sticks guy. It's like, make good choices. And no, I will not acknowledge the Death Stick guy's name because it is just as bad as the title Attack of the Clones.
I didn't even know he had a name.
Yeah, he does.
Everyone has a name always in every scene.
Wait,
everyone in that bar has been named.
Okay, I'm guessing his name is like Chad Stickerman. I feel like that guy's name would definitely be Chad.
That would have been a better choice for his character's name. Fine, I will tell you, Flo, it's Sleazebagano. And that's just...
Wait, I'm sorry, what? It is what?
Sleazebagano.
No, it's not. You're
yes,
lying.
Yes, it is. I am not lying to you.
Wow. That is the best thing I've ever heard.
It's so bad. Once again,
I had just pulled it up on Google when you said that, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" No, you're right. And
that is his
awful.
name.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm gonna call him Chad from now on, so you can too.
He's totally, he could be a Chad. Next, this is kind of a combo, untouchable, unbearable for me. We have to talk about Mace Windu, you guys. Mace. I love Samuel L. Jackson. He is an amazing performer. He gives Mace that kind of right amount of edge for a usually stoic Jedi to have. I love the purple lightsaber, and I love the story behind it, where Samuel's like, I just wanted to see myself on the field. He's like, give me a cool colored lightsaber, George. And George is like, done, purple.
And he was like,
it works for him.
I think the other part of that story was also just like, everyone was like, oh, do you want to be blue or green? He's like, well, can I have purple? Yeah, and like, just no one had ever asked before to have something other than blue or green. And they just kind of assumed that those were the only choices.
And George is like, different colored lightsabers. Ding. See, it helps to work with other people, George. I do like that it's like that balance of red, blue with light and dark, because that's what Mace's character is supposed to be about.
A pod.
Yes. His style. He's a badass in the Battle of Geonosis. Like he looks great in this battle, even though his leadership skill is probably not great with that death count. But he's one of my least favorite characters, you guys. Mainly because he's inflexible. His disbelief, just like outright disbelief that the Sith are active, like that's not possible. And when he's like, Dooku's a Jedi, he would never kill anyone. Then I'm like, shut up, Mace. Yes, he would. And then his open contempt for Anakin. Not as much in this movie, but going forward, and from the Phantom Menace, he was a dick to a 9-year-old. Like, seriously, rein in your hubris a bit, Mace. I just like.
I will say, Mace at the start of the Battle of Geonosis, that is where it goes around the internet every like couple of months or whatever. Insert like one F-bomb into into a movie because you can do it without getting an R rating. That's absolutely where I would do that, where he's just like, this party's over, motherfucker.
Yes.
Yeah, for real.
Yes. He has great energy. Like Sam L is so good as Mace. Mace, the character, just pisses me off.
Yeah.
Like his intractability is one of the main reasons that the Jedi Council is so ineffective. Like him and Yoda. I'm looking at you too, Yoda. We will be talking about you later. But yeah.
Oh man, Mace Windu, what a guy. So my untouchables, I'm gonna go. Well, like I said earlier, that speeder chase through Coruscant is just so thrilling. What a way to start a movie! Like you're going chasing through. They're like whipping in between other speeders. I mean, they've got at one point they go through the power line area. There's a lot of cool variation to it. So I'm a junkie for anything like that. Give me all of the speeder chase scenes. And plus you get a good dynamic between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Like, I think that's some of their strongest scenes in this movie is like, you can tell that they have a good, like an actual working relationship in that moment.
They do. I will say though, there's a couple of moments there where it's like, to quote Colleen from another episode, where was the editor? Like they're having a conversation back and forth, and it's like really obvious that they like shot coverage of Hayden and then they shot coverage of Ewan, and they just left an extra couple of second pause between the lines for the transition, and it just like it makes the whole thing so awkward.
Could have been snappier.
Yeah,
exactly. Now also that space battle with Jango in the asteroid field is so cool. The first time we get to see those seismic charges, which I loved seeing those get a return later on.
Flo loves those.
You guys already know I am a slut for seismic charges.
Yeah, check out the Bohemian Geek Studies coverage on Mandalorian season 2 for Flo's full takes on those seismic charges.
I go.
It's the most fun sound. It's so cool.
100%.
I love the sound. Now, I will give a little bit of praise, like a little bit, to Hayden Christensen, because he's not as bad as I remember here.
No,
like during the speeder chase, like he's a little bit charming. Like he's got his moments in this movie, and I feel bad for Hayden Christensen because I think if the storyline was written a little bit better, he had a little bit better dialogue, I think he would have been better received. It's just such a rough way for him to get introduced to the franchise. I mean, he is the weakest of the actors in my opinion, but I think he just wasn't served up the right material.
Right.
If he had been in for all 3 movies, I think it might have been easier for him because you see he gets better in Revenge of the Sith. I think if he had another movie to be more comfortable in, I don't know. Hayden Christensen's not as bad as I thought, and I was surprised by it.
He had much better moments that I remember. There are he gets into creeper territory, and this again is kind of the scripts, but like that when Padme's like, "Dude, you're making me uncomfortable," and he has that like head down, eyes up, "Sorry, milady," is like. It is like straight up, you are going into like predator territory at this point.
So you know what, that brings up a good point actually. I noticed he portrays like things like that, the kind of creepy possessive territory. He portrays that very well. He also portrays the rage very well. When he goes to get his mom during the Tusken Raider scene, he's full of rage. I think if they had found a little bit more ways for him to be expressive, because I know, Jedi, you're not supposed to be expressive, but Hayden had some good expressive moments. They should have utilized that more. So yeah,
he acted really well at the end them too. Like
I think in the end I hope he gets some sort of redemption with this Obi-Wan show.
He will. It's just the fandom needs to give him that chance.
Yeah.
Because I think so many people wrote him off from this movie and are just like, oh, haha, Hayden Christensen's like, no, like he kind of did what he could with what he was given.
Yeah.
And like, I really liked it, obviously. Like, I didn't see it as creepy. I'm kind of like into the possessive thing, but that's just my kink. That's fine.
Well, you do you.
Padme
Good
is
for
too,
you.
apparently.
Yeah.
Just me and Anakin by a fire on Naboo. Everything's fine. I'll be in my like bondage dress like Padme.
Yeah, she was wearing a little bit of leather there. Okay,
A
we see
little
you, Miss
bit.
Padme.
It was like a full leather
she was like-
dress.
She was ready to go to Folsom. She was all in.
I mean, all I'm saying, Anders, is she didn't have to go that hard if he was really creeping her out. Like, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, the murder of the
Well-
Tuscan village would have definitely turned off most people.
Yeah,
but
as
she's like,
opposed
"Oh,
to causing
yeah."
a deeper embrace.
So I'm glad you brought up the Tuscan Village again, because now that I've said my nice things about Hayden Christensen, it's time for me to savage Anakin as a character, because he is basically all of my unbearables. Why the hell are we sending Anakin and Padme to Naboo to go undercover? Why are you sending her to her own planet? This is a dumb plan. Who came up with it? There's no way that they let Anakin plan this. Like, that's just so dumb.
Yoda.
I don't know who thought this. And then they go.
No,
to
it was Mace,
Padme's-
wasn't it?
Mace
It
and
was
Yoda.
Mace. Of course, Mace and Yoda did. But still, like, Anakin, Padme, one of you, can't you be like, hey, maybe that's not a good idea? It's just so goofy to me. And then they go to her parents' place,
Yes.
which that is actually a deleted scene, which I'm upset that they cut out, because it's one of the few romance scenes that actually works for me, because it's her and her parents talking about it, and there's a little bit of flirting going on, and then Anakin goes outside and her parents kind of gently roast her about how they can tell they like each other, and it works.
Oh, I want it in the movie.
And it's
It
those-
should have been in the movie.
Yeah, it should have been in the movie. It was a
We
good
need
scene.
to pause recording right now because I have not seen this and I am freaking out right now. What?
It's a great scene.
Yes. So in the fan edit that I watch, they put that scene back into the movie.
Okay, I'm gonna need
And
a
it's-
link immediately.
Okay, I can
Immediately following recording. Flo
I
needs
can
to see
find you
this.
that and get you that again.
I will record a video of my face just watching it because
Yeah,
I
But
know
I'm going to
gonna
agree with
freak
you,
out.
Daniel, because it's those scenes. It's those scenes where it's a little bit more lighthearted. There's not as much pressure with this super, quote unquote, intense dialogue that
Yeah.
Padme and Anakin, that chemistry actually does kind of come through. The scene where they're in like the fields, and Anakin may be getting into a little bit into fascist territory, but that's
he says a fascism, and then they
but
flirt, and it's
they
nice.
play off each other actually decently well, like in that scene. And I mean, while we're on the topic of the plan for traveling as refugees, quote unquote refugees, Padme sure has a hell of a lot of jewelry and some pretty nice ornate clothing that she's wearing on that transport.
It's the
Padme said
headdress for
refugee,
me.
but make it fashion.
That's
Yeah.
the headdress is like preposterous. I definitely noted that in this rewatch. I was like, what? And like he's wearing like stained poncho things, and it's just like, why? What is happening here? They do not go together at all. But that's
They
fine.
look so mismatched. It's
Yeah.
so funny. She's like, look, I will be a refugee, but I will refuse to not serve a look. Like, come on.
Yeah. She's like
which-
sashaying on this like transport.
Yeah, I love it. I actually love that. Good for Padme. Dress up however you feel, mama. I love it.
That's right.
So Anakin feels a bit wasted in the prequels to me, because we have to get reintroduced to him as a character in this movie,
Mhm.
because like you have Jake Lloyd and he's 9-year-old Anakin, and okay, it's 10 years later, here's 19-year-old Anakin, completely different person. I mean, he has a little bit of the same personality, but it's 10 years later, he's a completely different. I feel like we needed to have 3 movies with him fully as an adult or something. And like, because I noticed the romance goes too fast for me in this. If we had
Yeah.
Padme and Anakin as like crushing on each other the whole first movie
Yeah.
in a non-creepy way, like as 2 teenagers or something, and then they get reunited again in this movie and the romance really kicks off, that would have paid off way better for me.
Yeah.
But then it's like, hey, I get reintroduced to you, and then boom, we're in love.
Yeah.
And like, it just didn't
Truly,
go.
deeply.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And I'm just like,
especially after
I'm
she
haunted
said,
by the
like-
kiss you should never have given me. Like,
Yeah,
what?
that was
Oh,
not
God.
a good bad dialogue, George. Bad dialogue, George. Bad, George. No.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
just
man.
it's sad because like I like the general plot of this movie, like an attempt on Padme's life. It sparks investigation. They get brought back into each other's lives again,
Mhm.
and then they uncover the whole the word I'm looking for is escaping me. The
Scheme,
Clone
plot.
Wars is going on. The plot, thank you, the scheme,
Schemes and plots.
the trickery going on. Like that's all fascinating. It's a great idea for a movie. The script just didn't deliver the scope of the story. Yeah,
I kind of
it just kind of feels like we should have started around here.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I definitely agree with wanting 3 movies of, Hayden and Natalie for sure.
Mm-hmm.
My issue is like, if we got anything before this, like if we got something between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, I feel like we would have been really icked out with their age difference. Because like, even if we got like 20-year-old Padme, that's what, 15-year-old Anakin?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like that would have been like,
yeah, he would have needed to have been, like 13 in the Phantom Menace when she was 14. Like that, they would have needed to be.
Yeah, they needed to reduce the age gap for sure. I think like that's one of the main issues and why we couldn't get that, because anything before this would have been icky because he's barely legal at this point.
Right. And now that
like,
he's finally legal, like now we can put them back together.
Yeah, I mean, like now it feels like less weird that he's 19 and she's like 24 or whatever. But the difference when they were younger was pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
It eventually ends up not mattering. Like whatever, it's fine. 5 years is not that big a deal. But
yeah.
When if they ever made it to 30 and 35, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But alas,
yeah, it's like, oh, no big deal.
Right.
Oh man, that's sad. We've made ourselves sad.
Yeah.
It happens every time. All right, Flo, you're up.
Hit us up,
those
Flo.
untouchables.
Okay, so my number 1 untouchable is just the score. The score is incredible. John Williams really went hard for us. We'll never be able to repay him for this. Like I said before, Across the Stars is my number 1 favorite piece of score ever. Only followed probably by like Hedwig's theme from Harry Potter. John Williams is just the GOAT. I'm obsessed with him. The score is currently still on my phone. Like if I ever want to listen to it, it's there. And I think it was one of like the first albums I ever like bought with my own money was this soundtrack. So it was a really big deal.
I mean, it is
sorry.
fantastic. So.
Oh my God. It's just so good. Like the music just swells and oh man. Okay. My next untouchable, obviously nobody agrees with me and that's okay. But Anakin and Padme's romance is just like the epitome for me. And I don't even care how cringy it is. Like he can cut all the pairs for her using the Force. Yes, he's haunted by the kiss she never should have given him, and their love will destroy them.
Which, let's be fair,
anyway.
she did not give him that kiss. He went in for it.
She kissed him back, bro. Don't even at me.
A
She
little
kissed
bit.
him back by the lake.
Oh, she absolutely
for
kissed him
sure.
back. No, she kissed him back.
But
definitely.
he went in first.
He went in
Of course,
first.
he went in
like,
first. He's
that was one long kiss.
bro. Okay,
Look, I love it for you, Flo. I love it for you.
Let's get real, team. Is he allowed to touch himself? Is he? I need to know
think
this
so,
because
it's like a stress release thing. So
is he? Okay, great. But if he was not, because I'm sure he doesn't get to as much as he like probably would if he was not a Jedi. Like that guy needed some loving by the lake. That's all I'm saying. And she kissed him back, and that was totally her right. And that's it. It was just so great, team. Honestly,
It is definitely a romantic setting. It is a perfect setting.
Yeah.
Like I want to, guys. We've all been stuck inside for just about a year now.
Go.
Just send me to Naboo to the Lake Country. I will lie on the sand. Damn it.
once again, the plan is dumb. Sending them to the most beautiful romantic place in the galaxy.
1,000,000% I agree with that. Also, we were remiss. We did not mention that like amazing gondola speeder from Naboo in our favorite ships. That is like one of my favorites ever.
Oh yeah.
Where like Padme steps out of that gondola in that amazing like ombre lake dress.
Yeah.
Whew, that is a whole mood. It is amazing.
She was serving up looks left and right at the lake.
You know what? Can we? I'm going to add an untouchable here that's not in the script, but the costume department brought
absolutely
it in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Like, wow. Padme's looks are unparalleled. Anakin's looking great. Obi-Wan's looking great. Everybody is looking Jocasta new, looking fantastic.
I love her robes. She looks so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It's just,
I have a very distinct memory of the special features from the DVD of this movie. And Natalie Portman's talking about all the costumes. And she says that, you know, oh, I guess, you know, I turned 18, so they're letting me show some skin now. And I get to show off my tummy because she does. She shows off. She has abs during that arena.
Yeah.
I mean, like that outfit a lot.
That outfit's amazing.
Not when it gets torn up. I like it when it's intact, but
it's okay when it gets torn up too, Colleen.
She does look great. She does look great. But of course, like we don't get to see naked Anakin yet. Like we don't get a female gaze moment.
We'll get there soon. We'll get there soon. Just one more movie, Colleen.
Next week.
All right.
Next week we get that.
So yeah, I mean the whole romance is just untouchable for me because it's my favorite. I am obsessed with the like love declaration on that like carriage thing before they go to their certain deaths. And like of course their wedding by the lake is great. She has a questionable choice of veil, but it, you know, whatever, it's fine.
Their wedding scene is very beautiful. And that's where they gift each other C-3PO and R2. That's like their witnesses and their kind of husband-wife gifts, even though they're like, is that okay with you guys? Can we like switch places?
Oh, that is what I think I forgot to mention this in mine. I love the whole ending battle. 3PO stuff during that though was just, it was tough this time. We were a little, we're a little too ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right, with like the head popping off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, I can agree with that. I have to say, like, my favorite banter in this, I love all of it, but the diplomatic negotiations, aggressive negotiations thing is just
that's funny.
That's a good line.
Actually, yeah, I like that.
It's so good. Everything.
And that's another great moment where their chemistry does actually get a chance to shine through.
They do better when they're doing romantic comedy and not tragedy. Like they do so much better with that.
It just like it sizzles in that meadow. Like she's just like giggly, and then like the stupid like riding those creatures thing is just crazy. That was a wild choice, but that's fine. Okay, my unbearables. I don't have that many because obviously this is my favorite Star Wars and I think it's perfection as it is. Besides the CGI that doesn't hold up. I like kind of a problem with Padme immediately standing back up when she falls out of that ship. Like she was just in the arena. She just got like torn up by a freaking cat creature thing that just clawed at her. She's been like, I don't know, awake for how long? Who knows? She falls out of the ship, rolls in the sand, and she's just like, I'm fine. Like, let's go. Like, what? No. Like, what? You definitely broke your leg. Like, what's happening? So that was crazy.
For her, the sand rejuvenates her.
That's right. Yeah. She loves sand. And then the only thing in this rewatch where I was like, this is the same issue that I have with Harry Potter in Order of the Phoenix is just like too much moodiness. And like Anakin is older than Harry at this point. Like Harry was only 15, but Anakin is supposed to be 19. And it's just like, it's too much. And I understand they're like really making him keep his emotions in check and he's not good at that. And obviously like he's very distraught about his mother, which I think is, you know, one of the most beautiful through lines of this movie, just like how much he loves Shmi and how much he misses her and has nightmares about her. But like the whole scene where she's packing is just too much, you know, in many ways, I'm better than him, talking about Obi-Wan and you know, the whole he's holding me back thing is just like, this is too much. And like, I don't think, and again, I love Hayden. I don't think he sold this in the right way. It just came off like very whiny and not like just like not thoughtful about it. But you know, that's really my only thing. It was just like a lot of hubris, and it just wasn't believable to me. But I guess we needed a lot of hubris to get him to Vader. So
That's true.
So I'm glad you brought up the outburst, because there's just one other scene that it drives me nuts. When Anakin is telling Padme that he killed all of the villagers from the Tuscans, and she's just staring at him like, oh no. Like, can we not get a bigger reaction from her?
I agree.
She's a humanitarian person.
Yeah, and she's just like, oh no, my boyfriend killed a whole village. I guess like, I'm gonna get him some blue
Not
milk.
just the men, but the women and the children
and the
too!
children
and the dogs.
Yeah, so let me just go get him some blue milk, rub his back, it's fine. Like, no, Padme, no, that's not what she would do.
I agree 1,000,000% with that take for sure.
Yeah, I think she would react very badly, or at least stay quiet and then kind of back away slowly.
Yeah.
Like.
All right, guys. So this movie did have a pretty difficult job. It was the second in a trilogy. It's also the second trilogy. So, we talked about with Empire how it actually straddled that line very, very well, bridging the gap, building on what came before. So what does this movie do to kind of build the franchise, build the worlds, and call back to what came before?
I thought it was neat that we get to see at the end of the Geonosis battle that the leader of the Geonosians pulls out the Death Star plans and then passes them off to Dooku. And I never thought about it too much until this watch through. But what a play by Sidious to be like, okay, we're going to have the Republic attack Geonosis. So the Geonosians are like, oh, the Death Star plans aren't safe here. I'm going to pass it off to Dooku, who then gives it to Sidious. Just he's playing chess with everybody the whole time. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And then the expanded view of Coruscant, because last time we just saw like the Senate buildings and the temples, and this time we're flying through the city. We're seeing nightclubs. We're seeing a little bit more vibrancy to the city. So I thought that was a pretty neat way to build on the last movie.
And like, I know we just called out my main boo being a murderer, but we do get to see the Tusken Raider encampment, which was really, really cool, because in the past movies we'd only seen like one or two at a time in the hills, like ambushing people. And so it was just cool to see like an additional civilization that like maybe we don't think about all the time, but that was pretty central to this movie. So that was really cool, except for they tortured Shmi, and I can't stand for that.
Yeah, that's...
No, but the slaughter of them did become legend. Like, they think that whole area is haunted. I think, is it Tatooine Ghost? Is the one that describes that?
Yeah, let's not go to the Valley of Death, please.
Yeah.
Let's just stay away from that.
And so building up the separatists in this movie too is something that we get. Last movie, we had the Trade Federation we knew that they were doing something shady with Sidious and what's going on, and now we actually have that full separatist council, and we also get them all named as basically big business. We have the Corporate Alliance, the Banking Clan, the Commerce Guild, and the Trade
Techno
Federation.
Union.
The Techno Union.
The Techno Union.
That guy is so weird.
Yeah. So getting that full council and laying the groundwork for what's to come was really cool.
And they're all aliens, y'all.
They are.
Everybody on the Separatist Council is an alien. Here comes the prejudice later. Yeah. Good job, Palpatine. He was really thinking things through. We also get the origins of the Stormtroopers, at least presumably. The armor is very close. This came with a lot of questions later about if Stormtroopers were clones, which most of them are not clones. We find that out later. But in this moment, like Flo said before, for a kid, you had to have been like, aren't those Stormtroopers though? What?
It was really confusing.
And there's so many of them. Like seeing, and the music they chose for showing whenever the clones were marching together was always like a little bit like, oh no, this isn't good.
I mean, the end of the movie when they're all getting into the acclimators, that music is straight up an Imperial riff.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah. Not good, guys. Not good.
This won't end well.
Nope. The other thing that this movie builds on a lot, which is great, is Boba Fett's family history. I love Boba in this movie. I just like Kid Boba, not in Clone Wars so much. I don't like him there, but I like him here. I'm just like living with his donor dad, Django, and like their little pad. I like kind of want to sit down and have dinner with them and just like get to know more. But him seeing his dad get killed at Geonosis was really intense. And it was great to see more of him. Give us all the boba. We want more. Book of Boba. Here we go.
Yes,
Let's
coming this
go.
December.
Yeah.
We also get in this movie, we hear Yoda talking about the growing hubris in the Jedi Order, which is very,
Mace
very.
Windu.
And Yoda.
Yes, it's sitting right next to him in the
Yoda.
Jedi Council.
Well, and Ki-Adi-Mundi is also that kind of arrogant Jedi Master guy. I mean, and Yoda also, look at yourself.
Yeah,
Check
There's
your
a whole
role.
lot of blame to go around.
there's definitely a lot, and this will ultimately lead to their downfall.
Yep.
One movie later. And obviously, this movie, we finally get an answer to a throwaway line from, I think it's mentioned by Leia, Luke, and Obi-Wan in the one scene in Obi-Wan's house way back in episode 4. Like, you fought in the Clone Wars? Yeah, I was in the Clone Wars. Oh yeah, you were in the Clone Wars. And we finally understand what this is, what this means.
I remember being a kid and being like, what's the Clone Wars?
I think I was way
That's
too
when
young to have
Colleen-
actually noticed the reference.
That's when Colleen began writing fan fiction.
Ooh, it was probably not that long after.
See?
In addition to the full franchise, this movie also gives us some insights into some new Force abilities and the actual makeup of the Force itself. Daniel, what's one of the... I would actually probably call this one the coolest.
Yeah, so we get to see Yoda channeling his big Uncle Iroh energy when he takes the Force lightning in and then redirects it back at Dooku. We've never seen that before, because last time we saw Force lightning was all the way back in Return of the Jedi, and Luke is just getting blasted. He has no defense to it. And Yoda's out here catching it like it's a baseball, no problem. Throw it right back.
That's just that whole line where he like just keeps taking it in and then makes it go away.
Mhm.
Just that much to learn. You still have. I don't
Just
think Yoda has a
wonderful.
middle finger, but he would absolutely be flipping it up if he did at that point.
Yoda got his little sass in. I loved it.
Oh yeah,
Well, and Dooku was actually his Padawan too, so it's
Mhm.
like
very true.
even more layers upon layers of relationships that are happening and being destroyed here.
Mhm.
Because I'm sure Yoda doesn't want to believe that Dooku could be a Sith or could be a dark side user. But now it's pretty blatantly obvious. He just
Yeah.
threw Force lightning
If
at
you're
me.
throwing
so-
around
He's
stuff
got a
like
red
that.
saber.
I mean, he just chopped off Anakin's arm, so
Yeah.
let's just put that out there real fast.
Rude, very rude, Dooku. And speaking of Yoda, we get to see him training the younglings, which is adorable because Yoda is
Mhm.
at heart a teacher. Like he wants to teach. Last film we saw the kind of master Padawan dynamic, but now we get to see them like before they have their masters, and they're so cute with their little training sabers. And oh my god!
Oh my
Oh.
god.
And Yoda interacting with them is so cute. Like he speaks to them like they're adults.
Mhm.
Which is nice. Like, can you talk to Anakin like he's an adult then, please? Because he actually is an adult. And also having the younglings just school Obi-Wan on that galactic map situation. He's like, duh,
Yeah.
because it's been erased from the archives, Obi-Wan.
Mhm.
Master.
Obviously.
I love that. Master. I'm obsessed with that scene too. I think it's so great. Obviously, I'm a teacher of like little tiny ones. And so this is like very near and dear to me. And I also kind of feel like seeing Yoda in this light makes you like Yoda so much more because he is so good with them. Like he's just fabulous with them. And so, you know, maybe he shouldn't be talking to Anakin as much, or maybe like he should have a different position on the council, but he's really, really good at this. Like he's obviously great and the kids love him. So that was so sweet.
Yeah. And we also get in this movie, so Qui-Gon told us in Phantom Menace that Anakin could see things before they happened, which is why he has great reflexes. So this kind of precognitive ability is what the Jedi use to great effectiveness. But in this movie, we take it to a whole new level when we have things like Anakin diving through a window or out of a speeder while it's moving, and being able to time that to the point where he would land in the right place at the right time.
When he just hops out, I'm like, oh shit, where is he going?
Well, and we know that's not the first time because Obi-Wan says, I hate it when he does that. And it's like, okay.
That line actually like flashed back to me to a lot of old like Batman cartoons when someone will turn around and when they turn back, Batman's just gone. And they're just like, oh, damn.
Okay, so Batman is a Jedi.
Yeah.
Could be.
Confirmed. At least Force sensitive with his reflexes like that.
Yes. Well, all right, guys. I think that is where we are going to wrap up our main discussion for today. So moving into recommendations. This is where we give you guys some recommendations for content that you might enjoy if you loved this movie. Colleen, do you want to kick us off?
Heck yes. Obviously, please immediately go watch Dave Filoni's Clone Wars animated show. The series fills in all the holes in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. It starts out a bit unevenly, as Flo knows, but in the end, you will just be sobbing at season 7, along with me, who sobbed readily through the last 4 episodes.
I mean, you do get to see Anakin and Padme planning a dinner party, which is my favorite. So.
That is hysterical. Because he's just trying to help, and she's like, "You're not
episode.
Helping." I like that episode. Like the Anakin Padme stuff in Clone Wars makes you realize why they're a couple. And
it's so much better in the
Clone end with Rush Clovis, and things get a little bad, but.
It just doesn't give us enough of it. Like, I just need a whole season of just them, or like I need to pick and choose my episodes maybe. But like, I just need Anakin Padme love.
Well, it's hard because they're separated for most of it. I mean, he's in the Outer Rim usually being a general, and she's back on Coruscant or doing senatorial mission stuff. So they are apart a lot, but it makes more sense, their love story, and makes Revenge of the Sith sadder. So if you watch Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith will hit really hard. Next,
well, and who doesn't love a good long distance relationship? So
I mean, it works for them for that amount of time.
Hell yeah,
it works. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Next, Flo, you would love this one, Dark Disciple by Christy Golden. It is sexy. This is like some steam coming off of this book. It's perfection. It's set at the end of the Clone Wars, focuses on former assassin Asajj Ventress, McQueen, and Jedi Master Quinlan Voss, who is basically Davi Diggs as a Jedi. Like, please give us this at some point, Lucasfilm, please, Lord. And they're trying to take down Count Dooku. So you get even more Dooku characterization, which is good. I could not believe, though, that Disney was okay with how much heat this book has. They basically were like, sure, have them having sex, like, for most of the book. That's fine.
Ventress can order me around any day, anytime.
Look, now we've got Anders in leather on Naboo by a fire.
He'd be on Dathomir in leather in this.
There you go.
Which is also just fine. Oh man. And then next, of course, if you're interested in Mace Windu, I'm not as much, but you might be, try Shatterpoint, which is a Legends novel. It showcases his unique Jedi ability, which I don't really want to go into because it's kind of spoilery, but he does have a really cool extra Jedi ability. It's written by one of my favorite Star Wars authors, Matt Stover. So it is a very good read. It's like, dang it, I have to read about Mace. Fine.
Oh man. Well, you've got these nice recommendations, and here I am dedicating my Rex this week to sequels that had interesting premises but failed to live up to it. Wonder why I'm giving that explanation. So I said, how about Thor 2? If you're a fan of Marvel, Christopher Eccleston as the villain. Let's go. And then he's just the most flat character you can imagine. The Godfather 3, in essence, sounds great. You come back to him at the end of his life, and no, not great. And then Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, if you're an Indiana Jones fan, like crystal skulls and aliens and the Russians, like, let's go.
And Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, and Shia LaBeouf.
And none of it was good. None. So yeah, if you want to have a disappointing sequel, watch any of the 3 movies I brought up.
All All right. Well, so every week I pretty much recommend the novelization of the movie, but this is the one, guys, that I am going to try and sell the hardest. The novelization of Attack of the Clones by R.A. Salvatore is phenomenal. It is absolutely amazing. R.A. Salvatore is an
Really good,
insanely good fantasy writer. If anyone's read any of his stuff from Forgotten Realms, Dark Elf Trilogy, all that stuff, the extra stuff that is in this book is so good. All those scenes with Padme's parents are there. The romance scenes actually play off a lot better when you're just reading them in the book. They are given a little bit of room to breathe, some extra description that kind of sets the mood a little bit better. His description of the fight scenes, the final lightsaber battle, is insane. It's so good. The way he describes how Anakin and Dooku are moving, you get some details about Dooku's fighting style, the fact that he was in fact a fencer, which lent itself much better to parrying lightsaber attacks than the big wide energy blaster weapon deflections. The way he describes Anakin having the two lightsabers, this is actually one of the things I love that scene in the movie, but having read it, I'm like, why isn't this longer? Why does this last all of 2 seconds with this?
Yeah.
This should be going a lot longer and a lot more intense. So please pick up the book. The other one I'm going to recommend is Queen's Shadow by E.K. Johnson. This is the second in her Padme Amidala trilogy, which tells the story. It starts out on Padme's last day as queen and transitions into her initial time as a senator. Again, it focuses on the relationship with the handmaidens and how they all work as a unit, and how she had to kind of learn how to navigate the Senate, the beginnings of her relationship with Mon Mothma and Bail Organa. And it's really, really cool to kind of see how she got to where she is at the start of this movie. And then the last one, if you are interested in some of that dark side stuff, check out Dooku Jedi Lost by Kevin Scott. It's up as an Audible original with the full cast, or you can buy it as a book, kind of a script book, telling his history, his story, the reasons he left the Jedi Order, and kind of everything else in those details. Also some other great Ventress content, which I will always take.
Yeah, you will. Okay, so my recommendations are all very, very sappy because I'm obsessed with the romance in this movie. So I picked some hot content for you guys. So if you've been lonely during quarantine, just enjoy these. The first one is, if you have been living under a rock and have not watched Bridgerton yet, you need to go watch Bridgerton immediately. It's giving us exactly what we need in this late stage of quarantine. There's a lot of banter, a lot of sex. It's exactly what we wanted from Attack of the Clones, but didn't always get. So Bridgerton delivers. Shout out to the spoon licking scene, which Anders missed on his watch, and I will never forgive him for it.
I had to go back. I was like, what is this? What the fuck are they talking about?
When does he lick a spoon?
Oh, man, I rewound numerous times. And honestly, that scene might play even better than the pear cutting scene, and I stan the pear cutting scene. So, yeah. My second recommendation is the ultimate "We Can't Be Together Because It Would Destroy Us Both" movie, Baz Luhrmann's Romeo plus Juliet, which I don't know if you guys have rewatched it recently, but I went down a YouTube rabbit hole a couple weeks ago and landed on some just scenes from the movie. My God, that movie is hot.
Yes.
Young Leo DiCaprio, young Claire Danes, just bringing the heat.
Harold Perrineau.
It's just funny because I think they actually hated each other filming that movie.
Oh, really?
Well, they hit it really well because that movie sizzles. And along with Attack of the Clones, this was definitely my sexual awakening movie. And for the record, I did not watch Romeo and Juliet when it came out in 96 because I was 6 years old. So I was awakened later than that, but I definitely have the DVD. And God, that pool scene is just, whoo!
I have no idea how I was allowed to watch that in my high school English class. Why? I was so surprised that public school let that be played.
They watched that.
We did too.
We had a field trip in 8th grade to go see a stage production of this, which if you want to talk about tight leather, there was a lot of tight leather in this show. But I was in 8th grade and I found out that the kids who couldn't go on the field trip watched this while they were back at school.
Wow. Well, yeah, we did Romeo and Juliet in 6th grade, and we watched the like way older movie where like there's definitely like boobs. And I just remember my teacher like standing up on a chair and holding a piece of like random paper over the TV. And like you could definitely see through it because it's a TV, like it's backlit. Like, what are you talking about? I was so stupid. But this version is definitely the hottest version. And another amazing soundtrack. So if you want a great soundtrack, the Romeo plus Juliet soundtrack is great. And then finally, I'm going to give you a completely smutty shout out. And shout out to friend of the pods, Nicole, who also read this, and also our wonderful BGS co-host, Sarah, who has also read this. This is a very smutty book. One of the best romances I've read in quarantine. It is called This Is War by Kennedy Fox, and I am just a sucker for forbidden love. So if you want a hot, modern forbidden love, pick it up. It's on Amazon. I don't know. You can get it on your Kindle. It's great.
Yay, forbidden love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that always works out for the best.
Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
It's fine.
Whatever. Don't be like that.
Hey, if there was communication with anyone, I think Anakin and Padme probably could have made things work.
Yeah, I mean, if they weren't being totally
if Hera had been around.
Yes. Yeah, if Space Mom had been around and been like, no, we need to talk about things.
No, Hera would have been like, go get me some fruit. I
don't probably considering how old she was during this point. She would have been like, where's my Mei run? Oh man. I think that's a good place to end talking about Space Mom.
Totally.
Love her.
Our queen, Hera Syndulla. Thank you for joining us today. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Yet Another Star Wars Pod. Or follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple. Hit that subscribe button real hard. Check out all of our offerings in the Forgotten Entertainment family at forgottenentertainment.com. You can also find Anders, Flo, and I on the Bohemian Geek Studies podcast, where we are currently diving into Star Wars Rebels. Woo! Watch Rebels.
Woohoo!
You can also find my Star Wars book reviews on bohemiangeekstudies.com, going into New Jedi Order at this point. And then tune in again next time when Flo will be back. The return of Flo.
That's it.
With us to defend Anakin's use of the Youngling Slayer 5000 because abs.
Hey, he can do whatever with those abs.
As we discuss episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Thanks so much, you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.